On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, internet, social media, music and heist planning on your mobile. Will you be able to play games on it? And we show you what the HUD looks like. It's the only weekly GTA 5 show that's seen the game. It's GTA 5 o'clock. Hi, welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hope you're well out there. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Yeah, hello there.
So we've got some exciting stuff planned for you this week. We're going to talk about the in-game phone. We're going to talk about the things it can do and possibly speculate on some things that haven't been announced yet. We're going to talk about the HUD, how it looks. We even have some pictorial evidence. And Dan, first of all, we're going to talk about the map project which you and James took on last week.
Yeah, last week we unveiled version of V1.0 of our GTA 5 o'clock mapping project. Thank you all for your feedback. The thing that I thought was like the most frustrating really was that a lot of people were taking our map as gospel when we quite clearly flagged it as like a combination of Rockstar's leaked map from the special edition, which is accurate because we think our version of Los Santos the city is really accurate and really close. And again, we'll get to a thing where people have corrected us perhaps on the position of Michael's house, which is fair enough. But broadly, you've got to understand that like everyone who's arguing about the GTA 5 map online, none of those people have seen the game. They have done some brilliant work with screenshots, but there's no definitive map yet of the north of Los Santos. So I really wouldn't get obsessed about whether map A is bigger than map B and how that relates to Rockstar's promises.
Do you mean the area north of Los Santos or the actual northern fringes of the city?
Well, it's just the surrounds and the countryside surrounding the city. Like Rockstar have said this is their biggest open world ever and it's 3 times the size of Red Dead Redemption. I've no reason to doubt that. I don't think Rockstar have got any reason to lie. Don't get obsessed about whether the map feels big enough to you or the maps that are doing the rounds feel big enough to you. I think because we were chatting with Tim who was away last week, and you were saying, Tim, that from our demo when we actually saw it, yes, we've seen it, and to be fair, unfortunately my brain isn't a working video camera, so I can't go and whiz back and say exactly things were a certain way, but you do remember broadly the scale and proportions. You were saying, Tim, you felt like when we were dropping in on the parachute and we were looking towards Los Santos, it felt like 25% of the overall geography and map.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly the impression I got. As we said before on the show, and also I put in my written preview that I did for CMVG. We weren't given a 360-degree view of the map when we were coming, skydiving down out of the helicopter as Franklin. So there is a portion of the map, probably 120, 150 degrees of the map that we haven't seen. So when we were coming down out of the plane, it actually looked like the island was top and tail by the sea, the ocean to the south and the Alamo Sea to the north. But the maps that we've started constructing last week, you and James started constructing last week, and the maps we've seen online and have been done by the community, I think are actually a fairer reflection of that, because it would be ridiculous for the Alamo Sea to be as north as you can get. I think the Alamo Sea is landlocked in the same way that the Salton Sea is landlocked, and beyond that, that's the kind of mystery area. I think, to be honest, that the sort of northwestern kind of fringes of the island are where, to be honest, we know a little less than we do about the southern, eastern, sort of central parts of the island.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think, again, a lot of people said, where's Mount Chiliad on our map? I think the reason we haven't put it on is because we don't feel confident enough to place it yet. Again, you look at how enormous in scale Mount Chiliad was in GTA San Andreas, you'd expect it to be very big again. That could be a great unknown. There's all sorts of things that Rockstar could be yet to show us. And I just am really confident that the game is as huge as they say it is. I just don't, I don't know why people are getting so upset about something that hasn't definitely been proved to be wrong yet. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Certainly from what we saw, I felt like almost like exciting and slightly overwhelmed by the scale of what we were seeing.
Yeah. So, we've had some responses, Dan. I mean, where are we at with mapping our map then?
Well, we're going to press on with a version 1.1, which will be our first revision to the map. I think the key things we'll do is, and I think a lot of people pointed this out, so yeah, thank you. I'm sorry if we're not crediting you directly. Some people said the position of Michael's house as we had it, where we had it kind of more northwards to the top of Las Santos near the Hollywood Hills, near the Vinewood sign. But a lot of people had used a bit of screenshot geography to suggest that it was in fact a little bit deeper into the city, like more in the sort of mid-northwestern region. And in fact, we can probably show that on screens right now. I think that sounds pretty accurate, so we'll be revising that.
I think that's almost certainly the case. I mean, what we do know about Michael's house is that it's in Rockwell Hills.
Yeah.
So we know it's in Rockwell Hills, and we know that Rockwell Hills is going to be, like you say, to the slightly western fringes of the city. Well, northwestern fringes of the city, and we suspect Rockwood Hills incorporates the golf course. And as we've placed the golf course on the sort of western side of the city, it makes sense that Michael's house is over there as well.
And that's what people have said, so it seems to make perfect sense. I mean, otherwise, I think our core mapping of the city is pretty much bang on. I'm pretty confident in our placement of the main downtown skyscraper cluster. Some people have questioned the position of the dam, relative to how far we had it from the city and the expanse of land between the two. Again, there's a little bit of guesswork involved. Maybe we could bring that in a little bit tighter. Again, we'll look at the screenshots and make some calls based on that, but thanks for your feedback there. The key thing that people picked up on, and it's not that easy to prove, but there is some evidence, is that the idea of we got one main Zancudo River heading off the Alamo Sea, but people are saying that there is in fact two main river outlets, one being the Zancudo River, and this is the thing that perhaps we hadn't taken into account properly last week, is that it's not an official GTA 5 image as released on the website where they've got 100 plus images, but they released a series of 4 postcard style images with the viewer, the sort of, what do you call it, Tim?
I'm not sure what they're called. I don't think we worked out on the show a couple of weeks ago either.
I don't know.
Let's call it a special eye viewer.
The special eye viewer with 4 different images in it. There were things like showing you grape.
You got it free with pre-order in the
free pre-ordering in America.
States, yeah.
And there was basically one image of, it says, having fun at the Zancudo River, and its character looks like Franklin skydiving in, and you can see a huge mountain directly in front of him, and on the left there's kind of more zigzaggy, flatter and lazier looking river, and it doesn't really look like the other definite screenshots we've got of the river, which we see the train crossing, and in fact that was the region that when we saw the demo we felt much more vertical and enclosed, more like a valley. So it seems very sensible to suggest that there are in fact 2 major river outlets. Again, I couldn't be 100% on placement, but looking at the Zancudo River image and its placement to what we can see of the Alamo Sea, it looks like that is the sort of southernmost of the river outlets, and then north of that is probably the area where we see the trains crashing into each other, where the valley is, etc., etc.
I think those 2 rivers probably run somewhere in parallel to one another, separated by a mountain range, which could possibly include Josiah and Chiliad, but certainly Josiah. I think Josiah probably is that's the mountain we saw in our demo, and that's the one I think, based on what we know of the screenshots and what we've seen of the trailers, is the one that separates those 2 rivers. Now, there is also, obviously, we've got the storm drains, we've got the LA River as well. I assume that the water that flows into the city comes from the dam, which we've placed on the sort of right hand side of our map, rather than from those rivers, those 2 rivers that we're suggesting, which I'm pretty confident will be coming off the Alamo Sea somewhere to the north of the map.
Yeah, I think that would also make sense if the dam leads to the sort of the viaduct Hoover Dam, under the city thing. So I think again that makes perfect sense. Again, I would refer you to the GTA Kiwi map that is meticulously researched and
really good.
Yeah, it's got some really interesting sort of vertical space assignment. So I think that's a really good map.
Anything else to add on the maps this week, Dan?
Well, that's it for our map in terms of corrections we've got upcoming. I think, again, the GTA Kiwi map is really good based on what we know, so I would look at that as well. There's been another map released this week, like a different version of the Blueprint map.
Oh, of course, yeah.
By Casper RDG, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, and I think that comes from the GTA forums. The interesting thing about that map that was different was in the southwest corner off the coast of Los Santos, that person has placed an island.
An island of decent size as well.
Yeah, a decent sized island with what they're presuming is like buildings and things on it. And as we talked about previously on this show, Tim, and what I think the fan sort of fiction wish is for someone at Rockstar to recreate Santa Catalina,
yeah. So we talked about this a few weeks ago. Quite a few weeks ago actually, probably 4 or 5. Maybe even 6 weeks ago, about how Santa Catalina Island is just off the coast of the real LA. And I can't remember exactly what the population there is, but I think it's a couple of thousand people, so it's quite populated, and it's sort of famous in I guess LA law, or that sort of Californian law, for being a bit of a graveyard for ships. And so we speculated on the show sort of 5-6 weeks ago that may be somewhere that you can possibly go diving. And of course, one of the great things about Santa Catalina is that there was a real life shipwreck there, and the ship went a renowned shipwreck there that went down with, I can't remember, it was like £1 million worth of jewels or something, $1 million worth of jewels or something like that. And we sort of speculated it'd be lovely if Rockstar sort of played on the history of that place and incorporated something into the game. Now, in none of the maps we've seen so far, no one's speculated that there's going to be an island that size until we saw this island this week. Now, it'd be really interesting to know what's his name, Casper RDG, is based that on, whether it's wish fulfillment or whether it's something that he's sort of scientifically found poring over the blueprint and the screenshots and stuff.
From what I understand from my Twitter account, the consensus seems to be that it's kind of a wish fulfillment idea. There didn't seem to be too much. I can't see a definitive screenshot. Someone had suggested that the Epsilon project screensaver, which features like sort of cold looking island outcrops with lighthouse.
Yeah,
but that looks too small. It looks more like sort of like the Outer Hebrides or something.
Yeah.
It's really tiny, so I don't really think that's a good piece of corroborating evidence. But as we said before, we suggested the idea of that quite a long time ago, and we also agree that it could be an interesting thing, but I just can't see the proof to back it up right now.
Okay, Dan, so let's move on from the maps. We've got 2 other areas of the game to cover. Shall we talk about the HUD first?
Yeah, let's talk about the heads-up display, which is the sort of the furniture that appears on screen when you actually play GTA. Rockstar notoriously release screenshots that look a little bit sexy and unreal, because they don't feature the furniture of the game.
Yep.
But, there was a image that did the rounds on the N4G aggregation site in various different places. That was from someone who claimed to have seen the demo and drew his own version of the HUD. Now, people have asked us to draw our own version of the HUD based on what we've seen, but I'll be completely honest with you, we'd only be redrawing a different version of the same thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're showing people this screenshot right now so they can see.
Yeah.
Because this is pretty close down to it's almost exactly what we saw.
The placement's exactly right, isn't it?
Yeah.
As in bottom left corner, the main thing you've got is your classic GTA radar.
Well, it's been given a bit of a twist this time, hasn't it? In that it's got sort of pseudo kind of I don't know how you describe it, sort of pseudo, sort of GPS-y
like a sort of pseudo 3D. It's a bit like when you got Apple Maps, the ill-fated Apple Maps, and there was a sort of 3D mode on that. It just feels a little bit more high-tech than the old strictly 2D top-down GTA maps. So, but I mean, otherwise, functionally pretty similar to what we've seen before. The notable thing was and Tim and I have just been debating this because our memories are playing tricks, but I was pretty sure that the bar underneath was like a split into 3. It was like, I thought it was a single horizontal bar but bisected vertically into three. One of those elements was your energy bar.
Mm-hmm.
The other was your armor, or
Yeah.
your sort of bulletproof vest.
That was
And
the
then
blue one.
The final bar was your special meter.
Yeah.
Because each character, as we know, has special abilities that work for a limited time, and you can do things like, you can. I think you improve it the more you play.
Yeah.
Plus, also, if you get the ultra deluxe special order pre-order, you get a plus 25% bonus, don't you? At the start of the game.
Yeah.
So those are your key meters to look out for. And again, am I right to say that when you get injured, your health falls to like 50% and regenerates, but to get the extra 50% back, you've got to go and have the equivalent of a beef burger or whatever it is, an energy kit or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think I'm right in saying. I think I remember this rightly, that your energy doesn't recharge to 100% Halo style.
No.
I think what you said basically is exactly right, in that if you get it knocked down to say 25%, it recharges to a certain amount, but in order to fill that up, you have to go and energise yourself.
Do one of the GTA things to energise. So is there much more to say about that zone of the HUD?
Not really, other than you and I were talking about it off air before we came and recorded, and I for some reason remembered them being stacked one on top of another. So I remembered the health being stacked on top of the body armor, being stacked on top of the specials, but maybe that's just my memory playing up.
Yeah, I'd have to check my notes again.
Yeah, but I think
I was of the mind that it was a singular bar bisected into three vertical different colour sections.
And if this guy really has seen the demo and wrote everything down, then that suggests that you're absolutely right and I'm wrong.
What is definitely correct is on the right hand side, he's created like a little circular jog wheel with the three main characters, and at the bottom there's like a mystery avatar for your online player. Yes, that is correct. We were told you have to use the D-pad to activate this, to bring up this menu, and then you use the stick to select the character in question that you want.
That looks pretty much exactly like it was in game.
Yeah, exactly that, with the sort of the same thing with the sort of silhouette for the final character.
Yeah,
who will be your online avatar.
And then just above the map there, Dan.
Yeah, we've got. I think is that
stats. I think
it says stats there. Yeah. I can't remember if it was stats like that or if that's where your phone popped up.
No, the phone popped up next to the circle. Circle on the right hand side,
right,
just next to it. Where the bike wheel is at the moment, this phone would sit over there.
I'm with you.
But I don't remember the stats bit being. It wasn't on screen the whole time, was it? It only popped up when you accessed it.
Yeah, as I remember, it's when we went, because when we transitioned from Franklin, jumping out the sky and landing, and when Rockstar said, now we're going to change characters to Trevor, it's when they sort of went into the character selection jog wheel that the character stats appeared.
Yeah, it was only then. It wasn't on there.
And I remember furiously trying to jot them down before they switch character. But yeah, they're not always visible. They just come up when you change character.
Okay, so that's the HUD. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into what the the type of game we saw. Let's, Dan, move on and talk about the phone. Now, we've been threatening to talk about the phone for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
We have sort of talked very briefly about it in previous weeks, but let's go into slightly more depth about it. Here's what we do know. The phone looks like an iPhone.
Yeah.
It's got 9 apps in three lines of 3.
Yeah.
What Rockstar confirmed was it would be a camera app, an internet app, a contacts app, a social media app, a replay missions option, a calendar, and 3 mystery apps that they weren't ready to talk about yet.
Yeah.
So let's just run through those ones we know about quickly, and we can talk about the sort of stuff that we think they'll be able to do. Camera. We know that you can take shots. You've seen them taking shots.
Yeah.
I assume through the camera we'll be able to take movies as well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's probably not going to be a separate option, because on an iPhone, for example, you take your shots and your movies with the same app, don't you?
It seems to make sense and tied into something we've been talking about forever and a day about, GTA 5 living in the YouTube universe of people sort of filming weird and mad events, or people being brilliant or stupid, and that entirely ties with what GTA 5 has always been about. So I just think that'll be true.
Okay. Internet option. Assuming you can email from your phone, you'll be able to go online and do whatever. I mean, do you think you might be able to do stuff like shopping and that kind of stuff, or do you think?
Yeah, it's possible you might be able to buy like items maybe to be delivered to your house from shops that exist within Los Santos. That's quite possible. I think it's sort of possible as well that they'll have a version of maybe Google that will allow you to perform rudimentary searches for things within the GTA world.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah,
that makes sense. Certainly in terms of mission planning and recruitment. You know, again, we've talked about websites that were registered in the past, like sixfiguretemps.com and various different things. You know, could it be that they're like meta sites that appear within GTA? I don't know that yet, but it would seem to make sense, and I think Rockstar like to be, you know, authentic but satirical.
What do you think about the idea of sort of Skype-style video calls between you and you know, I don't know, the three guys, for example, but also other characters?
Yeah, I don't know whether they put that on its own app. It's like a sort of like communication style separate app, and bundling in with the internet might be a bit too multifunction. Yeah, but I like the idea, and I think it's a possible and interesting gameplay device, because you could have, it's a clever way to do things like during you playing a mission, you could have a phone call from another character, you know, who pops up a video and goes, "You won't believe what's happening right now," and he'll go, "What? You've got to leave me alone, I'm too busy." And he'll go, "No, seriously, you have to look at this," and he can turn his phone around and show you something that's happening. You could be like, "Oh my god." Yeah. So it create like fun, dynamic sort of storytelling device, I think.
It's also a way, if it was in the game, to bring the three characters closer together and have them kind of... Look, I know we can zip between the characters at will, that's fine, but maybe you don't want to zip between Michael and Franklin to see what, if you're playing as Michael, to see what Franklin's up to. Maybe you just want to give him a call and see what he's up to and get a sense of where he is. I don't know, it might just be a good device to kind of keep the three characters knitted together.
I wonder if they... I mean, I don't know, again. Could they extend this to multiplayer so that if you're attacking the same objective from different perspectives, you could use it to show each other where you are relatively on the map? That's like that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's a good shout. So, third option, contacts. I don't know there's much to really discuss there other than that presumably will be where you squirrel away people you can hire for heists, important people who might be able to aid you, or you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, similar to as it's always been, with the difference being this time is that there'll be like an optional additional element in terms of who you recruit and whether you keep them alive. Yeah, just like Tim said.
Social media was the next app, which, I mean, do you think there'll be an in-game sort of take on Twitter or Facebook, something like that? I mean, it sounds like there probably will. I mean, given that, will you be able to... Do you think you'll be posting updates and photos, that kind of stuff?
Or? Yeah, I think all of those things, and like we said previously, whether there'll be some kind of internal social ranking mechanism or meta score within the game to say like what sort of an internet celebrity you are, I think that would be interesting. What I think is strange is that if Rockstar do create their own social network, will it actually link to real life social networks like Twitter or Facebook or YouTube? Because keeping it closed loop, just talking to itself, feels like a missed opportunity and something they wouldn't do. So I would only imagine that in your actual real life Twitter feed, you'll have a tweet which might have a hashtag of where it's from or be via something, but it will essentially be shared on proper Twitter.
I think you're absolutely spot on, because what we know already is that when you take pictures, you can upload them to Rockstar Social Club as well as your own Twitter and Facebook pages. Yeah. Now, it would make sense that you would also be able to let the Rockstar Social Club, but more importantly, your Twitter and Facebook page people, you know, you're friends with and your followers, exactly what you're up to in the game. And you're right. I mean, it would be a massive missed opportunity to kind of spread the gospel of GTA 5 if they didn't.
Given all the people in the world who probably failed to take on or take down Twitter, it would be sort of insane of Rockstar to go, not only are we building the biggest open world game of all time, but we're going to beat Twitter. Yeah. That would be like really mad.
Yeah. Next option was replay missions. That's fairly self-explanatory. Dan, I don't know whether you've got anything to add to that.
No, just that. I think you're going to replay missions, you know, it's obvious.
Number 6, the 6th app was Calendar. Again, I think this will probably tie into your planning for heists.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of... Oh, well, I mean, you don't really even need to think that hard about it. You plan in where you're going to be at a certain time, you know, perhaps when someone's going to be somewhere, you know, when you're taking on recon work, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we get to the 3 sort of mystery apps, Dan. Assuming that a Skype-style video option isn't one of those,
Yeah.
What is your take? Do you think you might be able to listen to music on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, that seems the logical thing. I guess that there's a slight... The problem with Rockstar doing dynamic music in GTA 5, you know, at the times they're forcing you to listen to their music, if you know what I mean, like we saw when we saw the demo. And the dynamic music works brilliantly. And I guess you don't want people spoiling that by choosing to listen to music of their own creation at key moments. But certainly in general open non-mission play, you'd expect to be able to listen to what music you want anywhere you want, just like real life. So I'd say almost certainly there's going to be a music app, and the interesting thing will be whether it's pure 9 stations cut as we always used to have, like proper radio, or whether it'll be some sort of hybrid thing similar to real life, where you might get to be able to choose and mash up, like create your own playlists within the GTA 5 radio stations,
Right.
or to be able, almost for Rockstar to be able to make an ever-evolving GTA soundtrack with tracks coming in and out via streaming, a bit like a Spotify. I don't know, but I just imagine Rockstar might have something more progressive in that field to reveal.
One thing I forgot to ask you, Dan, that I was going to ask your opinion on earlier, was the internet option on the phone. So you can get on the internet, you can do anything you need to do via your phone. So where do you think the internet cafes come in the game? I mean, because if you've got a phone on you the whole time with internet access on your phone, why would you ever need to go in?
I don't know. I mean, I might be having a mental blank, but have they even really talked about the internet cafes being a big deal anymore?
They haven't, but why include them in the game if you...
Well, I wouldn't. It's different now. You're not going to go to your twat cafe if you've got a mobile phone that does it, are you?
No. Well, exactly. So, I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know how that'll work.
I just wondered whether you might only be able to access like a quote unquote full version of the internet in an internet cafe, and maybe you got like a mobile version of it on.
Seems too at odds with life. I don't.
Yeah.
I just think they'd be all on your phone.
Okay, so what else might they include, Dan, for those other 2 things? I mean, might there be stuff like a sort of settings thing where you can adjust themes and ringtones and that kind of thing? Might there be some sort of photo app perhaps where you can apply Instagram-esque kind of finishes to the photos that you've taken in game?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, and it's something that we've talked about previously on the show with the image of the car by the huge fans, where it looked very stylised, and we said at the time that the image looked a little bit sort of sepia tinted, and the trails from the back of the car looked a bit exaggerated. So I think some degree of, like, you know, Instagram style editing or something is likely. Whether it's a separate app or access through the camera, I don't know, but it is quite possible. I wonder again, you know, is there some extra online mode app that does something with online?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think earlier what else people do on their phones, you know. I mean, but beyond like email and Twitter and, you know, social media and you know, perhaps a calendar and perhaps some sort of notes function where you can just make quick notes about things you think of. Everyone has a different taste in apps, so, you know, might they include like a little spin on the App Store or something, you know, where you can download from a selection of other apps?
Well, it's possible. And what they could do is almost have like a generic app called Game or Games, and at intervals update the game that your character has on their phone. And it would be a way, for example, you might be able to play like the original Grand Theft Auto via your phone inside the game. Now, you know, I don't know if that's too ambitious or not, but that kind of thing would make sense, and they could probably give you little fun Easter egg stuff that are games from within the Rockstar universe delivered to your phone in GTA 5.
That's a really interesting idea, you know, because we know that playing games on your mobile is something people do all the time now. You know, Rockstar have said that the new phone will reflect how people use their mobiles now.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of playing games on your phone is quite exciting. And actually, when we asked Rockstar in our demo what the other 3 options were, they had a bit of a cheeky little glint in their eye, and that might be something, you know, that kind of plays into it.
It feels like big enough to be a thing that might be worth keeping secret.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, we've got this cheeky cool thing coming up. You know, otherwise, whether you can stream TV shows to your, you know, or whether it's like a version of YouTube directly on your apps. So any times you can dip in, because again, if you're taking videos and uploading them, there's a place where they go, and that would be YouTube. So can you go to the Rockstar version of YouTube and view other people's exploits within the GTA universe that could be sorted in a similar way to like the skate reel was? So people go in and rate other people's videos, so you're always competing to create the best viral video yourself.
That's a good idea, yeah.
So that could work. And I think, you know, overall Rockstar would probably want to create some sort of unifying system, a bit like a clout score almost, but not just for like social media, but like who's the biggest badass in all of Los Santos, and that might be a combination of things like missions completed, mini games attempted, times in the mini games, stats, percentage of apps used, all this sort of stuff is going to, and they always track this stuff in every game anyway. Distance covered, biggest leap, packages found. They might have some way to wrap all this stuff up into one thing, so like there's a definable stat, you know, approved ultimate Los Santos badass basically.
Yeah. Okay, so that's this week's episode of GTA 5 o'clock. We hope you've enjoyed it. Do please put your comments down below. Ask us any questions you like. We'll attempt next week to answer some of your questions. Sorry we didn't get time this week. Last week's comment section descended into a bit of a challenging mess at times. Although we do appreciate people who are asking genuine questions. We try and seek them out. So thank you so much for your questions. Thanks. Please do subscribe, and of course you can follow us on Twitter at GTAVOclock. Otherwise, we'll see you again next week.
Can I just say, Tim, before we leave the air?
Hello.
We're going to say this week GTA 5 was listed as coming out on the PC on the official E3 website.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
Yeah,
yes, you were going to talk about this.
That's all right. It was on the E3 Insider website. And it's just a listing for GTA 5 on PS3, 360 and PC. Now, people were saying, oh, is this accidental confirmation of the PC version? Well, it looked to me possibly just more like a massive mess up. Like they just listed it. Because there's a sort of ramshackle feel to a lot of the E3 Insider website, you know, I hate to say. And like my feeling would be that that's a mistake. But do I think GTA 5 is coming out on PC? Well, a year ago I said yes, and I still think yes. A year ago I said it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One or Xbox 720 at the time. And I think if there's a PC version, I think there's definitely the next gen versions as well. I just don't think they're being announced accidentally on the E3 Insider website.
The thing you got to remember about that as well is that Rockstar aren't even at E3 this year. So, yeah. You know, if they were going to make an announcement on it, it's unlikely they'd make an announcement on it at a show that they're not attending.
Yeah.
And anyway, you know, even if it was going to be on PC concurrently and come out at the same time as the Xbox and PS3 version, they would have already announced it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, I'm sorry about that. That's everything. I can say goodbye to everyone now. Okay, he's ready. Thanks for listening. Do put your comments down below. We always read them. Thank you and good night.